Hello everyone, and welcome back to Tutorials of Tone. My name is Alex. Thank you so much for watching this video. We're talking about today bass playing, and more specifically the amps within our favorite Fractal device that will enable us to get the most out of both our bass tone, our unit, and get closer to that gig-ready sound with this modeling unit. Now, as a disclaimer, and as most people playing bass know, the Fractal systems are not known for their wide array and gamut of bass modeling options, but within that, there are some stellar options. Quality over quantity, I say. And I've been using this live for the last 3 years and counting, very, very happy, and I continue to learn more and discover new things within this device. So today, in this video, we're going to dive into all of the amp models that we have to offer and some of the things that you can learn or pick up for yourself within each of those models. Let's dive right in. So here we have our layout for this preset. Very, very simple. Input block at stock settings, an amp block, a cab block, straight to our output. For the purposes of this video, I am using a pair of SV bass cab IRs. These are what I use live. We will go into more bass cab options in a later video. But for now, this is what we're using, and everything that you hear will be run through this pair of cab IRs. We have a 40 Hz low cut and a 10K high cut on this. Nothing changed in our line tab. Everything else is at stock settings. So now that we have our cab selected for all of this, let's dive into finding bass amps. The best and quickest way to do this is to go into Type, go to the search bar, and type in bass. All of the options that feature the title bass are in here, and if you go to the Fractal Wiki and do the same thing, you're going to find out that all of the bass amps that are featured within the Fractal system are featured here. So this is a good place to start for any bass player. You don't need a lot of options to have great options. So we start with the SV Bass 1 and 2. This is the Ampeg SVT head, the famous bass rig of note. These are amazing. I gig with SV Bass 1 as my primary every single gig without fail. And I use the next two as my backups or alternates depending on what I need for bass tones. The USA Bass 401 and 2. Now these are Mesa Boogie amp heads, and they are wonderful. Just super round, pillowy, really just nice, soothing, just wonderful bass sounds. We have a few other options in here as well. We have Citrus Bass 200 based on the solid state orange bass head. Very, very nice for just clean, lots of headroom, really great palette for building your bass tones out of. We have the Ampeg Porta-Flex in here as well, the Porta-Bass as it's named in here. And last but certainly not least, we have FAS Bass. This is the Fractal Audio Systems version of a great bass head within the digital plane. This is a stellar bass sound and a stellar platform. I highly recommend starting here if you're not looking for real-world things and you just want knobs that are affected and very efficient. Wonderful. Now let's not forget that the 59 Bassman by Fender also started as a bass head, is now synonymous with guitar playing, whether it's great cleans, good overdrives, even super heavy people are running through that head. It's a studio staple, and it cannot be omitted from this list. In this video, we're going to dive through all of these heads, and we're going to give you nice sonic examples of what to think about when selecting your bass amp. So first, we have the SV Bass 1 at stock settings. Now, as you can hear, very bass heavy. Very wonderful, but there's a lot of low end there that can be reproduced. So what I like to do turn down this bass just a hair, give us a little bit more treble, and start here. As you can see, very small moves make a really big difference within this fractal space. Up next on our list we have FAS Bass 2. This is the exact same amp, but with our mid-range switch set to position 3 on the real-world amp. Now at stock settings, including the level being down at -12, we get a lot of signal. Clipping. So, be very careful with this. Drop this down if you're going to try this. Start at -25, use the preset leveling tool, and work your way up. We're already at unity gain at -25 dB for our level. This has a lot more output, a lot more beef to it. This is great for more modern styles of music. If you're playing heavier, if you're playing with a pick, you want a little bit of grit. You get a lot of that gnarly, beefy tone without having to strike the gain all the way up. If we take the same approach and get a little bit of that low end out of there, a little more treble in there. You have a nice, even tone, but with a little bit of grit. So, maybe you don't want to introduce drive blocks into your system. You could go A/B channel toggling between FAS Bass 1 and FAS Bass 2 very easily and dial in great gritty tones. Maybe you're going for the Lemmy thing, full on overdrive, and you don't want to use a Marshall within here. Maybe you just don't want to have a fuzz. Dime that gain. You get this really nice controlled bass fuzz. And you can of course use the bass section here, input EQ or output EQ, to roll off and shape the tone to match what you need. Very excellent, and a nice dive into the SVT bass amp heads. Up next we have our USA Bass 400. This is the first model, and this is modeled after a Mesa Boogie bass head. Very, very wonderful. Has a beautiful low end that's just nice and pillowy but not overwhelming. However, as opposed to our previous amp model, this has a lot less output than you would expect. Taking the master volume to 5 will help a little bit, and starting with our level control at -9. We're still not quite there. And there we have it. We are -7 dB on our output level for the block, higher than the stock settings. Keep that in mind. I really like using this when I don't have a lot of active bass lines and I'm just setting a nice firm foundation. And it's just wonderful. It has that nice thing. You're not aggressive, you're not coming out front for a big lead, you're just standing in the back, holding down roots, some backing vocals, and giving a nice foundation for everyone else to base their sound off of. If we take those same levels as before, we get this. Not a lot of mid activity in this amp, but very wonderful for a nice pillowy low end that is not too obtrusive to the rest of the band. Switching over to USA Bass 400, we have the same amp, but we have engaged the bass shift knob on the real world amp. Now this is a wonderful thing to have as, again, an AB with your other Mesa Boogie bass head. If you want a little bit of shift in that low range, you want to go between these two things. Switch back. And affect the frequency range just a little bit differently. This is a wonderful way to do that. So next up we have the orange bass head. This is based on a solid state model, and this is absolutely wonderful for anyone going from the guitar world into the bass world, or if you're used to playing through this sort of solid state thing. This is an excellent bass amp choice that you can use as your main rig. Again, A being between your SVT, your Mesa Boogie, etc. Just has a really great foundation, and of course, knobs to twist. Now, as we crank the master volume, we do get a little bit of that overdrive thing of pushing a speaker or pushing a digital circuit, but you can also push the gain. Get a nice bottom end, dime everything. Now that is a lot of low end because we have introduced distortion. But a really cool fuzzed out gnarly sound that you are capable of getting just by taking the bass all the way down, gain and master volume all the way up, adjusting our level to taste. Up next in our bass amps, we have the Porta-Bass, the Porta-Flex from Ampeg. Out of the gate, know that this amp level is extremely hot. I've already turned the block level down to negative 25 dB. We're sitting comfortably at unity gain. Now, part of that is due to what's behind the curtain in the Ideal tab. The master volume is turned all the way up at stock settings. If you change that, you get a really nice, clear picture, a lot like the SVT when we roll the bass down quite a bit. This is a really great amp. At stock settings, just know that you'll have to go into the Ideal tab, just put the master volume at 5, double-clicking it, and you're off to the races. This is a really great, clear, crystal tone that you can get out of your bass rig, or you can use this on cleans for guitar playing, whether you're a bass player or a guitar player dabbling within the bass world. So if you happen to be looking for clean guitar ideas, try running your clean guitar through a bass amp. and get a really nice clean, just know that you're going to have to attenuate a lot more low end out than you normally would for your bass playing. And the final entry for bass-oriented amp models within the Fractal system, the FAS Bass, the Fractal Audio Systems rendering of what the ideal bass amp would be outside of the physical world. And I can't say, but they really missed the mark on this one. Out of the gate, a wonderful bass amp. Just nice, full-bodied, not overbearing on the low end, not chirpy or missing or lacking in the treble end. But if you need a little extra bite for your slaps, that's in there. Maybe you want a little bit more boost on your low mids. This boosts that quite nicely. Or maybe you just need a little bit more low end. They got that too. Now, they have gain to spare. Just know you should probably take that level down when you boost the gain. And of course, higher the gain, lower the bass. And as a little bonus, an amp that became synonymous with guitar playing, but is indeed a bass amp by nature, the 59 Bassman by Fender. Now, at stock settings, this looks really tame. Know that this is another amp where you have to go to the Ideal tab and change the master volume to a respectable level so you don't overdrive every circuit you know. Absolutely clip your output, distortion, feedback, the whole thing. Really great low end on that amp. You can take that down and get a little bit more definition. Really great options in here. Of course, you are not limited to the bass amps in here. You could go full Lemmy, get a Marshall half stack, get a nice pick bass tone, drive your Rickenbacker through it, and have a wonderful time. There's no one who says you can't do that. Or maybe a little more middle ground and take the Chris Squire approach where you have an overdriven amp for just the meat and potatoes of the mids and the highs, run your lows into an Ampeg and get a really nice full composite hybrid sound. The sky's the limit, especially when you're on the FM9 and the FX3 where you have two amp model options that you can run simultaneously. But of course, on the FM3, you can always run a clean DI, a simple graphic or parametric EQ can get you there as well. Well, that about does it for this quick look at all of the bass-oriented amps within the Fractal system. I hope this was helpful to you. I hope this presents some nice options for bass players out there to consider, and for guitar players who maybe have to dabble in the studio or live on a gig, don't want to buy a new rig and already have a great Fractal rig at their disposal. There's plenty of great options. There are plenty of professional top-tier musicians using the Fractal for bass, which means it's probably good enough for us as well. We just have to look, deep dive in, and have a go with it. If you liked this video, there are plenty more videos throughout the channel that you can check out, including one about bass cabs, bass Dynacabs, etc. Plenty of bass material in there, as well as a lot of guitar material between Fractal 101s, gear reviews, playthroughs, tutorials of tone, etc. Thank you so much for watching this video, and we'll see you all next time.